What if the ancient world was far more connected than we ever imagined? Picture this: the same stars that guided the builders of the Great Pyramid also illuminated the sacred temples of Teotihuacan. The same precise stone-cutting techniques found in the walls of Cusco echo thousands of miles away in the ruins of Angkor Wat. These aren't just coincidences. They're whispers of a forgotten story, one where borders didn't divide civilizations, but where knowledge, ambition, and celestial wisdom flowed freely across continents. Today, we're setting out on a journey to uncover the hidden links between the world's most enigmatic ancient cultures, connections that defy time, geography, and even our modern understanding of history. Think about the last time you stood in awe of an ancient monument. Maybe it was the sheer scale of the pyramids or the haunting beauty of Machu Picchu's terraces. But what if these wonders weren't just isolated marvels? What if they were pieces of a grand, interconnected puzzle? From the way these structures align with the solstices to the uncanny similarities in their construction, there's a growing body of evidence suggesting that these civilizations shared something profound, a universal language of sky and stone. How did cultures separated by oceans and millennia achieve such startling parallels? Who or what might have been the bridge between them? This isn't just a story about architecture or astronomy. It's a story about human ingenuity on a scale that still baffles us today. Imagine the courage it took to raise colossal stone blocks without modern machinery, the precision required to align temples with the movements of distant stars, and the vision to create monuments meant to last for eternity. These builders weren't just working with rock and mortar, they were encoding their understanding of the cosmos into the very fabric of their cities. And as we peel back the layers of time, we'll discover that their legacy might be far more intertwined than we ever dared to dream. So settle in, because what you're about to witness will challenge everything you thought you knew about the ancient world, and just might rewrite the story of humanity itself. What does it truly mean to build without borders? Today, we draw lines on maps and divide the world into nations, but the ancients may have thought differently. Across continents and centuries, they left behind structures so similar in design and purpose that it's hard to dismiss as mere coincidence. Take the pyramids not just in Egypt, but in Mesoamerica, Sudan, even as far as China. These weren't just tombs or temples, they were cosmic compasses aligned with mathematical precision to the stars. How did cultures separated by oceans and epochs arrive at the same revolutionary ideas? Some argue it was the stars themselves that guided them. The night sky was humanity's first shared textbook, a universal map visible to every civilization. The solstices, equinoxes, and celestial events like the heliacal rising of Sirius or the Pleiades were observed and celebrated from the deserts of Egypt to the highlands of Peru. But was it just the sky that connected them? Look closer at the stones. The polygonal masonry of Sacsayhuaman in Peru mirrors the precision of Japan's Asuka Pyramid. The interlocking blocks fit so tightly that not even a blade of grass can slip between them, a technique seen from the Andes to Southeast Asia. Then there's the mystery of the megaliths. From Stonehenge to Göbekli Tepe, massive stones were quarried, transported, and erected with an expertise that still puzzles engineers today, even more baffling. Some of these sites predate written language by thousands of years. Were these early builders part of a forgotten network, sharing techniques through trade or migration? The Phoenicians, renowned seafarers, could have carried ideas across the Mediterranean. The Silk Road, though later in history, hints at how knowledge might have traveled even earlier. But perhaps the most tantalizing clue lies in the myths. Cultures worldwide speak of wise teachers, gods, giants, or enlightened beings who gifted humanity the secrets of architecture, astronomy, and agriculture. The Egyptian god Thoth, the Mesoamerican Quetzalcoatl, even the Vedic sage Vishwakarma, all depicted as divine architects. Could these stories be distant echoes of real figures, master builders whose influence spanned the globe? The evidence is etched in stone, written in the alignment of temples, and whispered in the legends of countless cultures. Whether through trade, exploration, or a shared celestial language, one thing is clear: the ancient world was far more interconnected than our history books suggest. And as we uncover these links, we're not just rewriting the past, we're rediscovering a time when humanity built not just monuments, but bridges across the unknown. The pyramid shape rises from the sands of Egypt, the jungles of Guatemala, and the plains of Mesopotamia like a universal architectural signature. At first glance, these structures seem worlds apart. The smooth limestone slopes of Giza contrasting with the stepped temples of Chichen Itza or the towering ziggurats of ancient Ur. Yet when we examine them closely, the parallels become impossible to ignore. All were precisely aligned with celestial events. All served as spiritual gateways between earth and sky. And all were built with mathematical precision that would challenge modern engineers. Consider the Great Pyramid's alignment to true north, a feat achieved with accuracy within a fraction of a degree. Now look at the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan, its western face perfectly oriented to the setting sun on the day it passes directly overhead. Even more strikingly, both complexes feature causeways mirroring the Milky Way's path across the night sky. Could these identical astronomical references be random, or were these cultures tapping into the same cosmic blueprint? The similarities go beyond celestial alignment. The construction techniques reveal an eerie familiarity. The Egyptians used massive limestone blocks fitted without mortar, while the Mayans employed precisely cut volcanic stone. Yet both methods achieved the same result: structures that have withstood earthquakes, erosion, and millennia of human history. Even the interior chambers tell a story. Both the pyramids of Giza and Palenque feature narrow, claustrophobic passageways leading to sacred inner sanctums, suggesting a shared ritual purpose. Then there are the numbers. The Great Pyramid's base perimeter divided by twice its height gives us pi, a mathematical constant the Egyptians theoretically shouldn't have known. Meanwhile, El Castillo at Chichen Itza has 4 stairways with 91 steps each, totaling 364 steps plus the platform, making 365, a perfect solar calendar in stone. These mathematical marvels couldn't have been accidents. They point to a sophisticated understanding of geometry and astronomy that somehow crossed oceans. Perhaps most compelling are the shared myths surrounding these structures. The Egyptians spoke of the Benben stone, the primordial mound from which creation sprang, often depicted as a pyramid. Half a world away, the Aztecs worshipped at the Templo Maya, believing it represented Coatepec, the sacred serpent mountain where their gods battled. Both cultures saw pyramids as cosmic axis points where heaven and earth met. Were these ideas carried across continents by ancient seafarers? Did a lost civilization spread this knowledge before vanishing into legend? Or is there something fundamental about the pyramid form that speaks to humanity's collective unconscious? The stones may yet yield their secrets, but one thing is certain: the world's ancient architects were whispering to each other across time, and we're only beginning to decipher their message. The night sky was more than a spectacle to our ancestors. It was a sacred script, a celestial blueprint that guided their hands as they built monuments to last the ages. From the high-altitude temples of the Inca to the stone circles of the Druids, cultures separated by continents and centuries all looked upward and saw the same patterns, the same rhythms written in the stars. Take Machu Picchu, perched like a celestial observatory in the Andes. Its Intihuatana stone, nicknamed the hitching post of the sun, casts no shadow at noon during the equinoxes, a precise solar marker carved with mathematical perfection. Half a world away, Stonehenge's massive heel stone aligns with the summer solstice sunrise, bathing the inner circle in golden light on the longest day of the year. Even in Babylon, the Etemenanke ziggurat was oriented to track Venus's movements, proof that sky watching wasn't just ritual but a sophisticated science. What's truly remarkable isn't just the accuracy of these alignments, but their consistency. The winter solstice sunrise at Newgrange in Ireland illuminates its inner chamber for just 17 minutes a year, a phenomenon replicated in Egypt's Abu Simbel, where sunlight pierces the temple's deepest sanctuary to illuminate statues of gods on Ramesses II's birthday. These weren't happy accidents. They reveal a deep understanding of celestial mechanics, a knowledge so precise it raises an unsettling question: how did cultures with no known contact develop identical astronomical insights? Some scholars argue for independent discovery, that the stars' predictability led multiple civilizations to the same conclusions, yet the evidence suggests something more. Pleiades cluster, for instance, appears in the agricultural calendars of the Maya, the Greeks, and the Maori of New Zealand, all marking its rising as a signal to plant crops. The constellation Orion's belt aligns with the pyramids of Giza and the three stars of the Maya's celestial hearth. Even the Druids' sacred oak groves mirrored star patterns, their trunks spaced to mirror constellations. Could these parallels really emerge by chance? Perhaps the answer lies in the myths. The Inca spoke of Viracocha, a bearded stranger who taught astronomy and masonry before vanishing across the Pacific. The Dogon people of Mali, with no telescopes, knew of Sirius's invisible companion star millennia before modern astronomy confirmed it, knowledge they attributed to amphibious visitors from the cosmos. These stories, dismissed as folklore for centuries, now seem less like fiction and more like fractured memories of a shared past. Whether through migration, lost voyages, or a forgotten global culture, one truth shines through: the ancients didn't just observe the stars. They conversed with them, building a language of stone and sky that transcended borders. As we decode these celestial alignments, we're not just uncovering lost techniques, we're rediscovering a time when humanity's greatest monuments were collaborative efforts, written in the universal script of the cosmos. Standing before the towering stones of Baalbek's trilithon, it's hard not to feel a sense of awe and bewilderment. These massive blocks, each weighing over 800 tons, were lifted 20 feet into the air and fitted together so precisely that not even a razor blade can slip between them. How the Romans, who later built temples atop these foundations, left no records explaining their construction, but Baalbek is just one piece of the puzzle. Across the globe, from the serpentine walls of Sacsayhuaman to the enigmatic pillars of Göbekli Tepe, we find the same impossible precision in stonework, often crafted thousands of years before the invention of the wheel or metal tools. Take the polygonal masonry of Sacsayhuaman, where massive limestone blocks curve and interlock like a three-dimensional jigsaw. The angles are so exact that modern engineers struggle to replicate them without computer-assisted design. Even more perplexing, some stones bear marks suggesting they were softened or molded like clay, a technique lost to history. Meanwhile, at Göbekli Tepe, erected around 9600 BC, T-shaped pillars weighing up to 20 tons were quarried, transported, and erected by people still classified as hunter-gatherers. These builders left no evidence of ramps, pulleys, or even basic levers, yet their work rivals the precision of Renaissance stonemasons. Theories abound. Some suggest ancient cultures possessed advanced acoustics or vibration tools to liquefy stone temporarily, a concept echoed in Andean legends of plants that made rocks pliable. Others point to the mysterious vitrified surfaces found on some megaliths, as if exposed to extreme heat, but perhaps the most compelling clue lies in the builders themselves. From the Levant to the Andes, oral traditions speak of a time when giants or sky people taught humanity the arts of construction. The Bible mentions the Nephilim, while the Inca revered Viracocha's bearded companions, said to have moved stones with a mere touch. What unites these sites isn't just the how but the why. Baalbek's platform aligns with the solstice sunrise, Göbekli Tepe's pillars map the stars of Cygnus, and Sacsayhuaman's zigzag walls mirror the Milky Way's path. These weren't just feats of engineering, they were acts of devotion, encoded messages to the cosmos. Whether through lost technology, forgotten wisdom, or something beyond our current understanding, one truth emerges: the ancients weren't just building with stone. They were conversing with eternity. Could the ancients have harnessed forces we're only beginning to understand today? The sheer scale and precision of their constructions defy conventional explanations, leading some researchers to speculate about lost technologies, methods so advanced they border on the mystical. Take the legends surrounding the pyramids of Giza, where ancient texts speak of the sound of creation used to lift massive stones. The Edfu building texts carved into temple walls describe a time when gods employed vibration and utterance to move obelisks. Similar accounts emerge from the Andes, where Quechua elders still speak of a sacred plant or liquid that softened granite, allowing builders to mold it like clay. These aren't just fanciful myths, they hint at a forgotten science of acoustics or resonance that might have manipulated matter itself. Consider the Great Pyramid's inner chambers, designed with mathematical ratios that create startling acoustic effects. When specific tones are sung or struck, the limestone walls amplify certain frequencies while canceling others, a phenomenon modern architects replicate with digital sound dampening materials. Even more intriguing, the pyramid's subterranean chamber resonates at the same frequency as the Earth's natural electromagnetic field, around 7.83 Hz. Coincidence or evidence of intentional harmonic engineering? Halfway across the world, the Mayan pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza produces an eerie chirping echo when clapped at its base, mimicking the sacred Quetzal bird. These structures weren't just silent monuments, they were vibrational instruments tuned to frequencies that may have had profound effects on human consciousness or even the fabric of space. Then there's the enigma of levitation. Tibetan monks still practice a meditation said to make stones light as wool, a tradition eerily echoed in Egyptian accounts of priests using the voice of Horus to float blocks into place. Modern experiments with acoustic levitation using sound waves to suspend small objects in midair prove the principle isn't pure fantasy. In 2016, researchers at the University of Bristol demonstrated how ultrasonic waves could lift and manipulate polystyrene spheres, a tiny-scale echo of what ancient texts describe. Could larger-scale versions of this technology have existed? The megaliths of Pumapunku, with their laser-like cuts and impossible interlocking joints, suggest a level of precision that even today's diamond-tipped tools would struggle to achieve. Perhaps the most compelling evidence lies in the tools, or lack thereof. No chisels or bronze implements found near sites like Baalbek or Ollantaytambo could have produced their flawless surfaces. Yet the stones themselves bear marks that defy conventional explanations. Drill holes with spiral grooves too perfect for hand tools, corners fused without mortar at molecular levels. Engineer Christopher Dunn proposed that the Egyptians might have used a form of ultrasonic machining, a theory supported by the harmonic resonances detected in their artifacts. Meanwhile, the vitrified surfaces of some Andean stones glass like patches where rock appears melted and refrozen, hint at temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius, achievable today only with plasma torches. Were these techniques the product of trial and error over millennia, or fragments of a once unified science? The parallels are too consistent to ignore. From the acoustic temples of Malta to the vibrating monoliths of Karnak, ancient builders left behind a global fingerprint of knowledge that challenges our timeline of human innovation. Whether through sonic levitation, lost chemistry, or a deeper understanding of Earth's energies, their achievements whisper a tantalizing possibility that the past might hold secrets even our most advanced engineering hasn't rediscovered. We often picture ancient civilizations as isolated islands of culture, separated by vast oceans and impassable deserts. But what if the truth is far more fascinating? Long before Marco Polo set foot on the Silk Road, an intricate web of exchange was already weaving distant cultures together, not just through land routes but across uncharted seas. Take the Phoenicians, those legendary seafarers who ventured beyond the Mediterranean's familiar shores. Their ships, laden with Tyrian purple dye and Lebanese cedar, may have reached farther than we ever imagined. Roman historian Pliny the Elder wrote of Phoenician circumnavigation of Africa, a journey that would have exposed them to currents carrying them straight to the Americas. And when you examine the Olmec colossal heads of Mexico with their strikingly African features, or the cocaine and tobacco residues found in Egyptian mummies, plants native only to the New World, it's hard to dismiss the possibility of transoceanic contact. Then there's the Polynesian connection. These master navigators, reading stars and wave patterns like a roadmap, could have crossed the Pacific long before Europeans dared to sail beyond sight of land. The sweet potato, a crop indigenous to South America, was a staple across Polynesia by the time Captain Cook arrived. Linguistic clues deepen the mystery. The Quechua word for sweet potato, kumara, echoes almost identically in Maori and other Polynesian languages. Even the construction of reed boats in Peru mirrors the design of Polynesian vessels, right down to the stitching patterns. But trade wasn't just about goods, it was about ideas. The shared myth of a flood survivor guiding humanity appears in Mesopotamian epics, Hindu scriptures, and Mayan codices. The double-headed eagle symbol, representing cosmic balance, appears in Hittite carvings, Mesoamerican art, and medieval European heraldry. How do these symbols and stories span continents unless someone carried them? Perhaps the most compelling evidence lies in the stars themselves. Polynesian navigators used the same star compass techniques later found in Viking lore, while Aboriginal Australian songlines mapped the land using constellations also charted by the ancient Greeks. These parallels suggest a hidden thread of shared knowledge, stretching back to a time when borders were drawn not on maps, but by the rhythms of the earth and sky. From Phoenician anchors found off the coast of Brazil to the Asian chickens that somehow reached Chile centuries before Columbus, the artifacts tell a story our history books are only beginning to acknowledge. This wasn't just trade, it was a global conversation written in ship timbers, crop seeds, and the stones of monuments that still whisper to us across the ages. A circle drawn in the sand, a spiral carved into stone, a perfect ratio hidden in the dimensions of a temple, these are more than decorative flourishes. They're the fingerprints of a hidden language, one that transcends time and culture. From the labyrinthine petroglyphs of Ireland's Newgrange to the golden spirals of Japan's Horyuji Temple, the same sacred shapes emerge again and again, as if whispering a secret only the ancients fully understood. What makes these patterns so universal? Why did civilizations with no apparent contact arrive at the same elegant solutions to encode cosmic truths? Take the flower of life, a geometric pattern of overlapping circles found in the Temple of Osiris at Abydos, etched into Phoenician artifacts and painted on the walls of China's Forbidden City. This intricate design isn't just aesthetically pleasing, it encodes the very building blocks of reality. Modern physicists recognize it as a two-dimensional representation of the vesica piscis, the fundamental shape created when two spheres intersect, mirroring the way atoms bond. The ancients seemed to grasp this intuitively, using the symbol to represent creation itself. The Mayans wove it into their calendar stones, the Celts into their knotwork, and the builders of India's Harappan civilization pressed it into clay seals over 4,000 years ago. Then there's the spiral, perhaps humanity's oldest sacred symbol. It curls through the chambers of Newgrange, aligned to catch the winter solstice sunrise. It unfolds in the stepped pyramids of Mesopotamia, mimicking the whirl of galaxies. Even the layout of Angkor Wat's central towers follows a logarithmic spiral, echoing the growth pattern of ferns and seashells. This isn't mere imitation of nature, it's a profound recognition of the spiral as nature's algorithm, governing everything from hurricanes to Dimne. The Maori of New Zealand called it the koru, symbolizing rebirth, while the ancient Greeks saw it in the golden ratio, a mathematical constant they believed governed beauty and harmony. Speaking of the golden ratio, this seemingly magical number, approximately 1.618, appears with uncanny frequency. It's in the proportions of the Parthenon's facade, the branching of Babylonian palm trees in relief carvings, and even the facial ratios of the Moai statues on Rapa Nui. The builders of the Great Pyramid encoded it in the relationship between its height and base perimeter, while Leonardo da Vinci later used it to compose his Vitruvian Man. But here's the mystery. The golden ratio emerges from the Fibonacci sequence, a mathematical pattern found in sunflower, seed arrangements, and nautilus shells. Yet ancient cultures worldwide incorporated it into art and architecture millennia before Fibonacci formalized it. Perhaps the most tantalizing clue lies in the mandala. Tibetan monks still create these intricate circular designs as meditation tools, destroying them afterward to symbolize impermanence. Yet nearly identical patterns appear in the rose windows of Gothic cathedrals, the sand paintings of Navajo healers, and the stone mosaics of Byzantine churches. Whether called a mandala, a medicine wheel, or a sacred hoop, the message is the same. The circle represents wholeness, the infinite, the cosmos contained within a single shape. Were these symbols discovered independently by cultures separated by oceans, or were they fragments of a forgotten universal teaching? The precision with which these geometries align with natural laws suggests more than coincidence. It hints at a lost science of sacred measurement, a way of building and creating that harmonized with the very fabric of reality. Whether through the migration of ideas, the intuition of enlightened minds, or some deeper connection to the patterns of existence itself, the ancients left us a puzzle written in stone and sky. And as we trace these shapes across continents, we're not just studying art or architecture, we're deciphering humanity's first shared language, one that speaks not in words, but in the silent poetry of form and number. Behind every great monument lies not just stone and mortar, but a shadow network of minds, elite custodians who guarded construction secrets like sacred text. In ancient Egypt, the priesthood of Heliopolis weren't merely temple attendants. They were the engineers behind the pyramid's celestial alignments, their knowledge so closely held that hieroglyphs refer to them as the unseen hands of Thoth. Similarly, India's Vedic sages composed the Sulba Sutras, mathematical treatises for altar construction that encoded Pythagorean principles millennia before Greece's golden age. These weren't isolated geniuses, they were part of lineage-based guilds, where geometry was liturgy and apprenticeship lasted decades. Consider the Druids, who memorized their entire curriculum orally to prevent written leakage. Roman accounts describe their 20-year training in astronomy, geodesy, and sacred geometries, skills evident in stone circles aligned to lunar standstills with pinpoint accuracy. What's striking isn't just their expertise, but how these traditions mirror one another across continents. The Mayas, our kin, priests kept precise calendars in secluded scriptoria, while Chinese Taoist masters guarded compass-making techniques in mountaintop monasteries. Each developed near-identical solutions. The Mayas' zenith tubes for solar tracking resemble the Egyptian Merkit instruments. The Taoist Luopan compass mirrors the Druids' cardinal-aligned stone rose. Then there are the mystery schools, closed circles where knowledge blurred the line between science and sacrament. Plato wrote of Egyptian initiates undergoing tests in the Chamber of Darkness before learning geodesy. The Eleusinian mysteries of Greece, open only to those who swore blood oaths, allegedly taught the secrets of sacred architecture through hallucinogenic rites. Even the Knights Templar, centuries later, were accused of excavating Solomon's temple not for gold, but for the builder's lost geometric lore. The evidence lingers in architectural fingerprints. The same squaring the circle technique appears in both the Great Pyramid and Chartres Cathedral, though separated by 3 millennia. The Fibonacci sequence, encoded in India's temple mandalas, resurfaces in the layout of Gothic rose windows. These weren't coincidences, they were handshakes across time, a silent dialogue between initiates who knew the stars could be mapped in stone. Perhaps most telling are the warnings left behind. The Hindu text Vishwakarma Prakasham threatens curses upon those who misuse its construction formulas. Egyptian tomb inscriptions warn of the god's wrath for divulging measurement secrets. This wasn't mere superstition, it was intellectual property protection on a divine scale. These societies understood that knowledge without wisdom could be catastrophic, a lesson echoing in legends like the Tower of Babel, where unified ambition collapsed without sacred guidance. Whether through encoded myths, ritual apprenticeships, or bloodline-bound guilds, the ancients crafted a fail-proof system, knowledge that could traverse centuries but never fall into careless hands. Their legacy challenges our modern divide between science and spirit, suggesting that the greatest monuments weren't built by laborers alone, but by keepers of a flame, one that flickers still in the stones they left behind. From the Epic of Gilgamesh to the biblical story of Noah, from the Mayan Popol Vuh to the Aboriginal Dreamtime legends, nearly every ancient culture carries a memory of catastrophic floods, waters so vast they swallowed mountains, reshaped continents, and wiped civilizations from the earth. These aren't just isolated tales of disaster, they're eerily consistent accounts, often describing the same celestial triggers: comets, falling stars, or a sky that roared. The Zulu legend of Unkulunkulu speaks of a great tearing of the sky, while the Hopi describe a time when the shield of the heavens cracked open. Could these stories be more than myth? Could they be fractured recollections of a real cosmic event that forced humanity to start anew, and in doing so, rebuild with shared techniques hidden in the language of stone? Look at the architectural fingerprints left behind. After the Younger Dryas period around 12,000 years ago, a time geologists confirm saw sudden climate chaos and rising seas, monumental construction surges worldwide. Göbekli Tepe's T-shaped pillars, buried intentionally as if to preserve them, appear alongside the first megalithic temples of Malta. The sudden sophistication of Egypt's Nabta-Playa calendar circle coincides with the rise of Peru's Caral pyramids. These sites share something beyond their age. They're built on high ground far from coastlines, as if their creators feared the ocean's return. Even more telling, many incorporate flood symbolism directly into their design. Angkor Wat's moats mirror the primordial sea of Hindu cosmology, while the ziggurats of Mesopotamia were explicitly called mountains against the waters. The myths themselves hold clues to this architectural revival. The Babylonian flood hero Utnapishtim is instructed to build an ark with precise dimensions, a ratio later found in sacred structures from Solomon's temple to Greek tholoi. The Aztec god Tlaloc, who unleashed the Great Flood, demanded temples with exact acoustics to sing down the rain. Most striking of all, the recurring motif of survivor teachers. In Sumerian texts, the flood-surviving sage Ziusudra gifts humanity the Mi, divine laws of civilization, while the Incan Viracocha emerges from Lake Titicaca's waters to teach masonry and astronomy. These figures aren't just cultural heroes, they're echoes of a post-cataclysm rebuild where knowledge became survival. Geology adds weight to the theory. The Carolina Bay's thousands of elliptical depressions across North America suggest a comet impact around 12,800 years ago, while Greenland's ice cores reveal a platinum spike from possible cosmic bombardment. When researcher Graham Hancock mapped these impact proxies against submerged ruins like India's Gulf of Combat, he found something chilling. The timelines aligned with the flood myth's dating. Suddenly, the global obsession with celestial alignment in architecture makes grim sense. These weren't just temples, but arcs of knowledge, designed to weather whatever the heavens might hurl next. Perhaps the most haunting evidence lies in the stones themselves. The vitrified surfaces of Scotland's Dunishan Hill and Turkey's Çatalhöyük show signs of extreme heat consistent with airbursts, exactly the kind of event described in the Mahabharata's account of blazing arrows from the sky. Meanwhile, the Sphinx's water erosion patterns, debated for decades, align with climatological evidence of heavy rainfall in Egypt around 9,500 BC rain that would have accompanied the sudden warming after the Younger Dryas. Whether through comet impacts, rapid sea level rise, or solar upheaval, one thing is clear: the ancients didn't just build to impress, they built to remember. The pyramids, the mounds, the towering ziggurats, they were more than monuments. They were time capsules in stone, warning markers for future generations, and perhaps most poignantly, a collective scream into the cosmic dark: we were here. We survived, and we will not be erased again. Puma Punku's shattered stones lie scattered across Bolivia's high-altitude plain like the ruins of some celestial machine. Among the rubble, you'll find blocks weighing over 100 tons, cut with such geometric precision that their edges align perfectly at 90-degree angles. No mortar, no gaps, just seamless joins that would challenge modern laser-guided tools. Even more baffling are the H-shaped clamps chiseled into the andesite, identical in design to those used in ancient India and Egypt, though separated by thousands of miles and no known contact. The stones themselves tell a story that defies conventional timelines. Drill holes so perfectly cylindrical they suggest rotary tools, and surfaces polished to a mirror finish without any visible tool marks. But Puma Punku isn't alone in this mystery. Across the Pacific, Japan's Yonaguni Monument rises from the ocean floor, a submerged complex of terraces, staircases, and angular platforms carved from solid bedrock. Marine geologists argue whether it's natural or man-made, but the right angles and parallel channels mirror the precision of Peru's Ollantaytambo, where massive pink granite blocks were quarried miles away. transported uphill without wheels and fitted together with joints so tight they've withstood centuries of earthquakes. The similarity in technique is uncanny. Both sites feature stones with knobs or protrusions, as if designed for lifting or alignment, a detail also found in the ruins of ancient Lebanon's Baalbek. Then there's the enigma of the drill holes. In Egypt's Abu Rawash, a granite sarcophagus bears spiral grooves so uniform they indicate a drill bit advancing at a constant rate, a feat requiring machinery with consistent torque. Yet identical drill marks appear in Bolivia's Tiwanaku and India's Mahabalipuram temples, separated by oceans and millennia. Even more perplexing are the plug holes found in these sites, small, precision-carved cavities that modern engineers speculate might have held clamps or instruments now lost to time. Were these the remnants of some universal construction method, a global mason's handbook erased from history? Theories range from the plausible to the extraordinary. Some researchers propose the use of sonic levitation, citing Tibetan and Egyptian texts that describe the science of vibration to soften stone. Others point to chemical treatments, ancient recipes for plant-based solutions that could temporarily alter rock hardness, a technique hinted at in Andean oral traditions. But perhaps the most compelling evidence lies in the tools, or rather their absence. No chisels or bronze implements discovered near these sites could have achieved such flawless work. The stones themselves suggest something far more advanced. Cut so clean they resemble modern machining, angles so precise they imply the use of protractors or even optical instruments. What connects these sites isn't just the how, but the why. Puma Punku's alignment with celestial events mirrors that of Giza and Angkor Wat. The Yonaguni structures, like those of Peru, seem designed to withstand seismic shifts, knowledge that would require an intimate understanding of geology. Whether through lost technology, forgotten sciences, or a shared legacy from some pre-Diluvian civilization, one truth emerges: the ancients weren't just building. They were engineering for eternity, leaving behind puzzles in stone that whisper of a time when the world's architects spoke the same unspoken language. The Dogon people of Mali have known for centuries what modern astronomers only confirmed in the 1960s, that Sirius, the brightest star in Earth's night sky, is part of a binary system. Their oral traditions describe Sirius B, an invisible companion star so dense it defied detection until advanced telescopes revealed its existence. But how could a tribe without written language or optical instruments possess such precise astronomical knowledge? Their answer is simple: the Nomo, amphibious beings who descended from the Sirius system in a spinning vessel, bringing wisdom to humanity. This isn't an isolated legend. From the Vimana's flying chariots described in India's Mahabharata with unsettling parallels to modern aircraft, to the Mayan Popol Vuh's account of gods who measured the Earth's corners, cultures worldwide insist their greatest architectural achievements were inspired or even directly assisted by celestial visitors. Consider the sudden sophistication of Egypt's pyramid technology. The step pyramid of Djoser, built around 2600 BC, shows the trial and error of early masonry. Yet just a century later, the Great Pyramid emerges with near-perfect cardinal alignment and engineering precision that still baffles experts. The ancient Egyptians themselves credited this leap to Thoth, the god of wisdom who allegedly authored sacred construction texts in a language of divine measure. Similarly, the Sumerians depicted their gods handing them the gifts of civilization, including the plumb bob and surveying tools on cylinder seals. Even more striking are the accounts from the Andes, where Quechua legends speak of Viracocha's companions, tall, pale-skinned strangers who taught masonry and astronomy before vanishing into the Pacific. These stories share eerie consistencies. The Dogons Nomo, like the Ons of Mesopotamian myth, were amphibious teachers who emerged from water. The Vimanas of India, described as self-moving chariots of fire, mirror Ezekiel's biblical vision of a wheeled throne descending from the heavens. Even the Aboriginal Wandjina figures, sky beings with large eyes and halos, bear an uncanny resemblance to modern depictions of extraterrestrials. Skeptics dismiss these as coincidence or metaphor, but the architectural evidence gives pause. How else to explain Puma Punku's laser-like stone cuts, or the vitrified surfaces of Scotland's Dunishan Hill, effects achievable today only with plasma torches or directed energy? Perhaps the most compelling case lies in the sudden global spread of pyramid technology. Within a few centuries, step pyramids appear in Egypt, Mesopotamia, Mesoamerica, and even as far as China's Xi'an, all aligned to celestial events, all built with geometric precision, yet with no evidence of cultural contact. The Mayans claimed their pyramids were replicas of a first mountain built by gods, while the Chinese Emperor Qin Shi Huang constructed his tomb pyramid to mirror the pearls of heaven. These parallels suggest more than independent discovery. They hint at a shared source, a blueprint whispered across continents by beings who saw Earth from above. Modern archaeology often attributes these leaps to human ingenuity alone, but the myths persist like stubborn ghosts. The Sanskrit text Samaranganasatradhara describes Vimanas constructed with mercury vortex engines, a concept NASA explored in 2016 for theoretical propulsion systems. The ancient Tamil text Agastya Samhita details battery-like devices using copper and lemon juice, later replicated by researchers to produce measurable voltage. Even Plato's account of Atlantis mentions orichalcum, a mysterious metal that gleamed like fire, echoing modern descriptions of superconductive materials. Whether these accounts record actual encounters or symbolize lost human potential remains debated. But one thing is undeniable: the ancients didn't view their greatest achievements as solely their own. They wrote of gods who walked among them, of blueprints drawn in the stars, of knowledge that fell from the sky like rain. In their stones and stories, they left us a challenge to reconsider not just how they built, but who or what might have been looking over their shoulders. The Great Pyramid of Giza doesn't just dominate the desert skyline, it whispers equations in stone. Its base perimeter divided by its height gives us 2 pi, a ratio that shouldn't have been known to Bronze Age builders. Yet there it is, etched into millions of limestone blocks, alongside another mathematical marvel. The pyramid's slope angle of 51.8 degrees mirrors the latitude where its builders placed it, linking geometry directly to geography. This isn't isolated genius. Half a world away, the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan encodes the same mathematical sophistication. Its base measurements align with the numerical value of pi multiplied by 4, while its staircases total 365 steps, one for each day of the solar year. How did cultures separated by oceans and millennia arrive at identical mathematical insights? The answer might lie in the stars. The Maya tracked Venus's cycles with an error margin of just 2 hours per 500 years, a precision unmatched until Renaissance Europe. Their long count calendar, carved into stelae at Capon, calculates lunar phases to within 33 seconds of modern astronomy. But here's the twist: their number system, based on 20 instead of 10, used a shell symbol for 0 centuries before India formalized the concept. This shared obsession with celestial mathematics echoes in India's own Vedas, where the altar building manuals known as the Sulba Sutras detail Pythagorean triples and square root approximations 1,000 years before Pythagoras. The parallels are too exact to dismiss, whether in the Fibonacci sequence hidden in Angkor Wat's temple layouts or the golden ratio governing the Parthenon's facade. Ancient architects were speaking a universal numerical language. Even more intriguing are the measurement systems themselves. The Egyptian royal cubit, measuring approximately 20.6 inches, wasn't arbitrary. It derives from the Earth's polar circumference divided by 43,200, a number sacred to cultures from Babylon to Tibet. The Mayan Huneb, their standard unit, corresponds to 1/400,000,000th of the Earth's diameter. These aren't random choices. They reveal a planetary consciousness, a way of tethering human construction to cosmic scale. The Incas took this further, using knotted quipu cords to record taxes, astronomical data, and even philosophical concepts through a decimal-based coding system that some researchers compare to modern binary. The most haunting evidence, though, comes from the megalithic yard, a unit of 2.72 feet found in Stonehenge, Karnak, and Scottish stone circles. Archaeologist Alexander Thom surveyed hundreds of Neolithic sites to confirm its widespread use, but who standardized it, and how was it transmitted across cultures without writing? Some speculate it came from the stars. The megalithic yard equals 1/1000th of a pendulum swing timed to Earth's rotation. Others point to the human body. The cubit, the foot, and the fathom all relate to arm spans, strides, and fingertip measurements. Yet the precision defies chance. The Sumerians divided the circle into 360 degrees. The Egyptians mapped the Nile's floods with stellar alignments, and the Chinese used compasses to orient cities along geomantic lines, all applying numbers not just as tools, but as sacred bridges between Earth and cosmos. What emerges is a pattern deeper than coincidence, a shared reverence for mathematics as divine language. The Mayans saw numbers as living entities, the Egyptians carved equations into temple walls as prayers, and the Vedic sages chanted geometric hymns to sanctify altars. In a world without satellites or calculators, these cultures achieved a numerical harmony that still resonates in the stones they left behind. Whether through lost civilizations, celestial teachers, or an innate human connection to the universe's hidden order, one truth stands clear: the ancients didn't just count. They communed with the very fabric of reality. Step into the stone passageway of Newgrange, Ireland's 5,000-year-old tomb, and your whisper transforms into an eerie chorus, echoing as if the walls themselves are singing back to you. This isn't just an architectural quirk. It's a deliberate acoustic marvel, one shared by ancient sites across the globe. From Malta's Hypogeum Hal Saflieni, where voices resonate at a frequency that alters brainwave patterns, to the Maya's Temple of Kukulkan, where a handclap mimics the cry of the sacred Quetzal bird, these structures weren't just built to be seen. They were designed to be heard. Take the Hypogeum's oracle chamber, carved 3 stories beneath the earth. When someone speaks in its central niche, the sound amplifies and vibrates at 110 Hz, a frequency modern studies link to heightened states of meditation and even shifts in prefrontal cortex activity. The same phenomenon occurs in Peru's Chavin de Huanta, where labyrinthine tunnels channel rushing water into harmonic frequencies, turning the entire complex into a colossal instrument. These similarities raise a haunting question. Did ancient cultures possess a unified science of sacred sound, one that could physically and spiritually transform those who experienced it? The evidence isn't just in the echoes. At Turkey's Göbekli Tepe, pillars carved with acoustically reflective surfaces suggest rituals where drumbeats or chants might have resonated through the entire complex. In Egypt, the so-called sound niches of the Great Pyramid's subterranean chamber amplify specific frequencies while cancelling others, creating zones where voices seem to emerge from the air itself. Even Stonehenge's bluestones, when struck, produce metallic tones like a giant xylophone, a property the site's builders might have exploited during ceremonies. But why? Anthropologist Stephen Feld's work with the Bosavi people of Papua New Guinea offers a clue. They describe their rainforest as a sonic cathedral, where every bird call and waterfall is part of a larger harmonic language. Similarly, the ancient Sanskrit concept of Nada Brahma, the world is sound, suggests vibrations were seen as the fabric of reality. Could these sacred sites have been tuning forks for the planet, designed to harmonize human consciousness with the Earth's own frequencies? The most compelling proof lies in the construction itself. At Malta's Tarxian temples, archaeologists found spherical stones that fit perfectly into carved channels, likely ancient ball bearings, used to roll massive slabs into place. But when struck, these stones produce pure musical tones, hinting at a dual purpose: tools for building and instruments for ritual. Meanwhile, the Maya stepped pyramids, with their precise ratios of height to width, act like giant sound diffusers, scattering chants across plazas with crystalline clarity. From the bone flutes of Germany's Hohl-Fels cave, 40,000 years old, to the Tibetan singing bowls still used in meditation, humanity's oldest technologies weren't just functional. They were vibrational, whether through shamanic trance, communal ceremony, or some lost science of resonance. The ancients understood something we're only rediscovering. Sound doesn't just fill space, it shapes it. And in these sacred chambers, where whispers linger like ghosts and stones hum with hidden energy, the past isn't silent. It's waiting for us to listen. Beneath the sun-baked streets of Cappadocia, a labyrinth of tunnels stretches deep into the earth during Kuyu, an underground city carved from volcanic rock, descending 18 levels and capable of sheltering 20,000 people. Its massive stone doors, weighing up to half a ton, could be rolled shut in an instant, while ventilation shafts drilled with pinpoint accuracy provided fresh air even at the lowest levels. But this wasn't just a refuge from invaders. The same region hides over 200 similar complexes, some connected by miles of tunnels wide enough for 3 people to walk abreast. Why would an entire civilization choose to live in perpetual darkness? The answer might lie in the walls themselves, chambers lined with acoustic resonators, their curves designed to amplify whispers into audible speech, suggesting these spaces weren't just for survival, but for communion. Half a world away, beneath the Giza Plateau, another network of tunnels and chambers defies explanation. Medieval Arab historians like Al-Makrizi wrote of vast subterranean galleries filled with statues of priests holding scrolls, while modern ground-penetrating radar has revealed anomalies stretching toward the Sphinx, hinting at untouched chambers. The most compelling clue comes from the pyramid texts, inscribed in Egypt's oldest tombs, which speak of the Juat, an underworld where initiates underwent trials by sound and darkness before emerging reborn. Similar rites appear in accounts of the Greek Eleusinian mysteries, where participants descended into subterranean telesterian chambers to experience visions induced by resonant chanting and a sacred brew. The parallels grow stranger. In Malta, the Hypogeum Halsaflinis oracle chamber amplifies voices at frequencies known to alter brainwave states, while in Peru, the Chavin de Huanta's labyrinthine ducts channel water into harmonic vibrations. Even China's Longyu caves, carved with precise angles and echoing with uncanny acoustics, suggest a global tradition of underground resonance. Were these spaces designed as spiritual amplifiers, where the earth itself became a conduit for transformation? Then there's the survival theory. From Turkey to Tibet, underground cities often align with cosmic catastrophe myths. Durinkuyu's deepest levels contain wells, stables, and even wineries infrastructure for long-term habitation. The Hopi speak of ancestors fleeing underground during a sky of fire, while Plato's account of Atlantis mentions survivors retreating into hollows of the earth. Geologic evidence adds weight. Volcanic ash layers in Cappadocia coincide with the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, a period of global climate chaos. Perhaps the truth lies in both. The same tunnels that sheltered bodies during catastrophe may have also sheltered souls during sacred rites. In India's Ellora caves, Buddhist, Hindu, and Jain sanctuaries coexist underground, their carvings depicting deities emerging from the earth's womb. The Cherokee tell of the Nanahi, immortal beings who dwelled in subterranean cities, emerging to teach humanity in times of need. Whether as arks, temples, or intercontinental passageways, these underground networks challenge our view of ancient priorities. They didn't just build upward toward the heavens, they dug deep into the living rock, as if the answers they sought weren't in the stars above, but in the resonant darkness below. The desert city of Petra gleams like a mirage, its rose-red cliffs hiding a secret more precious than gold water. In this arid landscape where rainfall averages just 6 inches a year, the Nabateans didn't just survive, they thrived, carving an empire from stone with a hydrological mastery that still baffles engineers. Their secret, a network of dams, cisterns, and ceramic pipelines so precise it could channel flash floods into a lifeline, storing enough water to sustain 40,000 people. But here's the mystery. Halfway across the world, the Khmer Empire was achieving near-identical feats in the flooded jungles of Cambodia. Angkor's Barre's massive reservoirs spanning 5 square miles, and its intricate canal systems turned monsoon chaos into agricultural abundance. How did two cultures, separated by continents and centuries, unlock such similar secrets of water control? Look closer at the Nabateans' techniques. They carved channels with gradients as slight as 1 degree, ensuring water flowed steadily without erosion. Their terracotta pipes, fitted with self-cleaning sedimentation tanks, filtered silt before it reached the city. Even more remarkably, they engineered water traps into cliff walls, hidden channels that condensed nighttime dew into drinkable pools. Meanwhile, in Angkor, hydraulic engineers designed a grid of canals that functioned like a massive battery, storing wet season overflow to irrigate rice paddies during droughts. The symmetry is uncanny. Both civilizations used gravity-fed systems. Both aligned their waterworks to celestial events. Nabatean channels tracked solstice shadows. Khmer reservoirs mirrored star patterns, and both viewed water management as sacred geometry, a divine science. The clues deepen when we examine their myths. The Nabateans worshipped Dashara, a mountain god who split rocks to release springs, while Khmer legends speak of the Naga, serpentine beings who controlled waterways. Both cultures depicted their water deities with hybrid features, part human, part reptilian, echoing similar figures from Mesopotamian Ons to Aztec Tlaloc. Even their failures carry eerie parallels. Petra's decline began when Roman conquerors replaced Nabatean ceramics with lead pipes, unknowingly poisoning their supply. Centuries later, Angkor's collapse coincided with a disrupted monsoon cycle, proof that their water genius was both their triumph and their Achilles heel. Geology offers another thread. The Nabateans built atop sandstone, a porous rock that naturally filters water, while the Khmer's laterite soil hardened into impermeable channels when exposed to air. Did they share this knowledge through trade routes stretching to India? Or was it something deeper, a universal understanding that water, like stone, could be spoken to? The Petra Scrolls, 6th century manuscripts found in a Byzantine church, describe hydraulic rituals where priests, sang to the waters to prevent evaporation. In Cambodia, inscriptions at Phnom Kulen Temple detail similar ceremonies, with Brahmin priests using tuned bronze vessels to measure reservoir levels acoustically. Perhaps the answer lies not in a single source but in necessity's crucible. Desert and jungle are flip sides of the same coin, one starved for water, the other drowning in it. Both civilizations faced existential threats that demanded innovation, and both arrived at the same profound realization: water isn't just a resource. It's a living system, a rhythm to be harmonized with. The Nabateans' cliff-carved channels and the Khmer's sprawling reservoirs weren't just feats of engineering. They were prayers in stone and earth, testaments to a time when humanity's greatest monuments weren't temples or tombs, but the silent, shimmering gift of a well-placed drop. At Chichen Itza's towering El Castillo, shadows slither like serpents down the pyramid steps during the equinoxes, a dazzling display of light and shadow that marks the precise moment when day and night stand in perfect balance. But this wasn't just spectacle, it was a celestial clock carved in stone, a testament to the Maya's mastery of cosmic rhythms. Every facet of this pyramid is a calculated marvel. Its 4 stairways hold 91 steps each, totaling 364, with the platform crowning it as the 365th step, a solar year etched into architecture. Yet the Maya weren't alone in this celestial conversation. Half a world away, Angkor Wat's central towers align with the sun's path during the spring equinox, while its outer galleries mirror the draconic cycle of the moon, an astronomical feat so precise it could predict eclipses centuries in advance. The genius of these structures lies in their dual purpose. They weren't just temples or tombs, they were living observatories, their very stones whispering the language of the cosmos. Take the Caracol at Chichen Itza, a spiral-shelled tower with narrow windows perfectly angled to track Venus's 8-year cycle, a planet the Maya revered as the god Kukulkan's twin. Inside, priests could pinpoint the planet's risings and settings with an error margin smaller than a day, using nothing but stone apertures and naked eye observations. Similarly, Angkor's builders encoded the precession of the equinoxes into their temple bas-reliefs, depicting the churning of the Milky Ocean myth as a metaphor for Earth's 26,000-year wobble. These weren't random artistic choices, they were celestial textbooks written in alignment and proportion. What's truly staggering is the scale of their precision. The Maya calculated the solar year at 365.242 days, just minutes off modern measurements, while the Khmer astronomers at Angkor mapped the lunar nodes with accuracy that wouldn't be matched until Renaissance Europe. How? The answer lies in patience and generations of unbroken observation. At Kapon's hieroglyphic stairway, glyphs record eclipse cycles spanning centuries, evidence of scribes meticulously documenting celestial events. In Cambodia, inscriptions at Phnom Bakheng detail star corridors, used to calibrate the temple's alignment to Alpha Draconis, the pole star of their epoch. These cultures didn't just watch the sky, they conversed with it, turning temples into stone dialogues with time itself. The tools they used were deceptively simple yet profoundly effective. The Maya's zenith tubes, vertical shafts in observatory floors, marked the sun's overhead passage, signaling the start of planting seasons. At Angkor, reflective pools doubled as astral mirrors, allowing priests to chart stars even during daylight. But the most haunting evidence of their skill lies in the anomalies they recorded. A Dresden Codex page depicts Mars's retrograde motion, while Angkor's bas-reliefs show comets with tails angled to indicate orbital direction, details impossible to discern without decades of disciplined tracking. Why devote such effort to celestial choreography? The answer is etched into survival. For the Maya, Venus's appearances dictated war and agriculture. For the Khmer, monsoon predictions meant the difference between feast and famine. These observatories were more than scientific instruments. They were bridges between heaven and earth, where cosmology and practicality merged. When the sun kissed El Castillo's serpent shadow or flooded Anka's central sanctuary, it wasn't just a celestial event. It was a reaffirmation of cosmic order, a promise that the sky's rhythms would endure, and with them, the people who learned to listen. Plato's tale of Atlantis, a mighty island empire swallowed by the sea in a single day and night of misfortune, has captivated imaginations for millennia. But scroll beyond Greece, and you'll find eerily similar stories echoing across the ancient world. The Aztecs spoke of Aztlan, a paradise lost to floods. Tamil legends describe Kumarikandam, a vast continent submerged beneath the Indian Ocean. Even the Welsh myth of Cantre'r Gwaelod tells of bells ringing beneath the waves, marking a drowned kingdom. These aren't just isolated fables. They're fractured memories of a shared human obsession, the idea that before recorded history, a brilliant civilization vanished beneath the waves, leaving only fragments of its knowledge behind. Could these legends hold a kernel of truth? And if so, might its survivors have seeded the architectural wonders we've been puzzling over? Look at the evidence through Plato's own words. He described Atlantis as a circular city of concentric rings, its temples clad in exotic metals, its canals thrumming with ships from distant lands. But here's the twist: this blueprint mirrors real sites. The circular harbor of ancient Carthage, the concentric terraces of Sardinia's Nuragic wells, even the canal-gridded city of Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley, all bear uncanny resemblances to Plato's account. Even more striking, the Egyptian priest Solon, whose tales inspired Plato, claimed Atlantis fell 9,000 years before his time, placing its collapse around 9,600 BCE, coinciding with the Younger Dryas cataclysm, when rising seas swallowed coastlines worldwide. Then there's the architectural smoking gun, megalithic polygonal masonry. From Peru's Sacsayhuaman to Japan's Yonaguni, this puzzle piece stonework appears where it shouldn't, cultures with no known contact, yet sharing techniques too precise to be coincidence. The Incas claimed their masonry skills came from Viracocha's first people, while the Egyptians credited the god Thoth with teaching them to make stone as wax. Even the ancient Sri Lankan text Mahavamsa describes builders using a sky chariot to lift stones, echoing Plato's account of Atlanteans mastering the arts of the heavens. But perhaps the most tantalizing clues lie in the anomalies. The Antikythera mechanism, a 2,000-year-old Greek computer tracking planetary movements, proves advanced engineering existed earlier than believed. The Piri Reis map, drawn in 1513, depicts Antarctica's ice-free coastline, a detail lost beneath glaciers for millennia. Are these flukes or fragments of a forgotten science? The Dogon tribe's knowledge of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye, mirrors the Atlanteans' alleged astronomical prowess. Meanwhile, the sudden appearance of pyramid building across the globe, Egypt, Mesopotamia, Mesoamerica, within a few centuries suggests a shared inspiration, not independent invention. Skeptics argue these are myths, not history, yet geology keeps offering unsettling support. The submerged ruins of Dwarka off India's coast, the sunken monoliths of Japan's Yonaguni, even the Bimini Road's debated pavement in the Bahamas, all hint at civilizations lost to rising seas. The real question isn't whether Atlantis existed as Plato described, but why so many cultures separated by oceans clung to the same core story, that once, long ago, the waters rose, and with them sank a world of knowledge. Whether memory or metaphor, these legends challenge us to reconsider humanity's timeline. and the possibility that our greatest ancient wonders weren't beginnings but echoes. Alchemy wasn't just about turning lead into gold. It was the ancient science of transformation, and nowhere is this more evident than in the stones they left behind. Deep in the quarries of Aswan, Egypt, lies an unfinished obelisk still clinging to the bedrock after 3,000 years. What makes it extraordinary isn't just its size, but the granite itself, a stone so hard modern diamond-tipped drills struggle to cut it. Yet the ancients shaped it with uncanny precision, leaving behind tool marks that suggest something beyond chisels and hammers. Legends speak of a softening agent, a concoction of plants and minerals that temporarily altered the stone's hardness, allowing craftsmen to mold it like clay before it rehardened. The same whispers echo from the Andes, where Inca builders supposedly used a liquid derived from local flora to fit massive blocks together seamlessly. Could these be fragments of a lost alchemical tradition where stone wasn't just quarried, it was transmuted? Then there's the mystery of vitrification. Across Scotland's rolling hills, the ruins of Iron Age forts like Tap o' Noth and Dunderdale bear eerie glass-like patches where stone walls appear melted and refrozen. These aren't the result of accidental fires. The temperatures required to fuse granite into smooth, vitrified surfaces exceed 1,000 degrees Celsius, far hotter than any ordinary blaze. Archaeologists debate whether this was a defensive tactic or a ritual act, but the parallels to other sites are striking. In India's Konark Sun Temple, blackened patches on the chlorite stone suggest exposure to extreme heat, while the fused bricks of Babylon's Ishtar Gate hint at a deliberate alchemy of earth and fire. Even more puzzling are the accounts from medieval alchemists like Albertus Magnus, who described a philosopher's stone capable of hardening materials to eternal durability, a metaphor perhaps for these very techniques. But the most tantalizing clues come from the stones that glowed. Roman historian Pliny the Elder wrote of Egyptian temples where certain stones emitted light after sunset, possibly referring to fluorescent minerals like those found in the Hathor temple at Dendera. Meanwhile, the Maya used stucco mixed with mica to make their pyramids shimmer like constellations under moonlight. The Chinese legend of the night shining pearl, said to illuminate palaces without flame, might describe similar luminescent technology. Modern experiments with barium-based compounds have recreated these effects, proving that ancient builders could have engineered radiant stone. What unites these examples is a profound understanding of material science, one that blurred the line between chemistry and magic. The Aswan obelisk's tool marks a line with descriptions in the Egyptian emerald tablet, which speaks of breaking stone without force. Vitrified forts mirror Celtic myths of druids who could sing rocks into fusion. Whether through lost recipes, sacred rituals, or a forgotten physics of resonance, the ancients treated stone not as inert matter, but as a living medium waiting to be awakened. Their legacy challenges us to rethink not just how they built, but how they saw the world, not as a collection of objects, but as a tapestry of transformable elements, whispering secrets to those who knew how to listen. A serpent slithers down the steps of El Castillo at Chichen Itza, its stone body coming alive under the equinox sun, while half a world away, a twin serpent coils around the caduceus of Greek temples, its mirrored form guarding the secrets of healing. From the lion-faced gates of Mycenae to the celestial eagles of Mongolia's sacred stones, animal symbolism in ancient architecture isn't just decoration. It's a silent language carved into the very bones of sacred sites, whispering secrets across time and terrain. But why these creatures, and why do they reappear with such startling consistency in cultures separated by oceans and epochs? Take the serpent, perhaps the most universal symbol. In Mesoamerica, it embodies Kukulkan, the feathered serpent god who brought knowledge of agriculture and astronomy. In Hindu temples, the Naga coils around Shiva's neck, representing Kundalini energy and cosmic cycles. Even the Norse Jörmungandr, the world-encircling serpent, mirrors the Ouroboros of Egyptian alchemy, a creature devouring its own tail to symbolize eternity. The parallels go deeper than mythology. Serpent motifs often appear aligned with celestial events. The Maya's equinox shadow serpent, the Egyptian uraeus on pharaohs' crowns tracking the Milky Way's path, or the Chinese dragon's association with the East and the rising sun. Were these just independent metaphors for life force and renewal, or fragments of an astrological code? Then there's the lion, guardian of thresholds from Babylon's Ishtar Gate to the stoic sentinels of China's Ming tombs. In Egypt, the Sphinx's leonine form faces the rising sun, its paws anchored to the earth while its gaze pierces the horizon, a fusion of solar symbolism and earthly power. The same duality appears in Persia's Lamashu, winged lions with human heads, and in the lion-bodied Sekhmet, whose wrath could scorch the earth or heal it. What unites them isn't just strength, but a role as celestial sentinels. The constellation Leo's prominence in ancient star maps, from Sumerian zodiacs to Inca quippus, suggests these stone lions weren't just royal emblems. They were earthly reflections of the heavens, anchoring cosmic order to sacred ground. Eagles soar even higher in this symbolic hierarchy. The Aztec Cuautli, a solar eagle clutching serpents, mirrors the double-headed eagle of Hittite temples and Byzantine mosaics, all representing a bridge between earthly and divine realms. In Native American mound complexes, eagle effigies align with solstice sunrises, while Norse legends tell of Odin's eagle perched atop Yggdrasil, surveying all worlds. The constellation Aquila, the eagle, appears in star lore from Mesopotamia to the Andes, often linked to thunder gods or celestial messengers. Could these repeated avian motifs be more than artistic choices? The Hopi speak of a time when their ancestors communicated with eagle beings who taught them architecture's sacred ratios, a story echoing the Dogon's accounts of avian instructors from Sirius. The most tantalizing clues lie in the combinations. The chimera of Greek myth, lion, serpent, and eagle fused into one finds echoes in the Hindu Garuda, eagle and serpent, the Egyptian griffin, lion and eagle, and the Mesoamerican Quetzal, bird and serpent. These hybrid beings don't just symbolize power, they encode celestial relationships, the lion as solar symbol, the serpent as earthly wisdom, the eagle as cosmic messenger. Together, they form a trinity mapping humanity's place between stars and soil. Whether through migration of ideas, shared human psychology, or something more profound like a lost global mythology written in the stars, these animal symbols challenge our view of ancient separation. They suggest a time when sacred architecture wasn't just local tradition, but a collaborative effort, a dialogue in stone and sky. The next time you stand before a carved serpent or a stone lion, look closer. You're not just seeing art, you're reading a letter from the past addressed to anyone who still remembers how to listen. The ground beneath your feet isn't as passive as it seems. Across continents, ancient builders seem to perceive an invisible web of energy, ley lines, dragon paths, or spirit tracks threading through the earth like veins of power. From Stonehenge's towering sarsens to the Great Pyramid's cardinal alignment, these monuments don't just share architectural genius. They're strung along precise geometric pathways, as if someone drew a celestial map and pinned temples to its intersections. The question isn't just where they built, but why there, and whether these sites hum with energies modern science is only beginning to measure. Take Glastonbury Tor, its terraced hills spiraling like a coiled serpent. Medieval lore claims it sits atop a ley, an alignment stretching straight to Avebury stone circles and beyond. But it's not just folklore. Modern dowsers walking these paths report spikes in electromagnetic activity, while satellite imagery reveals straight-line alignments connecting Glastonbury to Canterbury and even the pyramids of Giza. The Chinese called these lines dragon currents, building their temples and pagodas along them to harmonize with the Earth's Kai. In Peru, the Nazca lines, those vast geoglyphs only visible from above, follow underground water channels, suggesting the ancients mapped unseen forces beneath the surface. Then there's the science. Geophysicists have detected unusual magnetic fluctuations at sites like Karnak's Standing Stones and Sedona's vortexes. At Ireland's Hill of Tara, once the seat of high kings, compass needles spin erratically near the Lia Fail, the legendary stone of destiny. Similar anomalies occur at Delphi, where the oracle channeled prophecies beside a fissure emitting ethylene gas, a natural intoxicant that could induce trances. Were these places chosen not just for symbolism, but because the earth itself amplified their power? The builders left clues in their myths. Aboriginal songlines trace invisible pathways across Australia, mapping both geography and sacred knowledge. The Hopi spoke of the Earth's Kiva lines, while the Druids aligned stone circles to ley nodes where energy converged. Even the Bible hints at it. Jacob's pillow stone at Bethel, where heaven touched earth, became a spiritual hotspot. These traditions share a startling consistency, the idea that certain points on the land thrum with unseen vitality, and that stacking stones there could tap into it. Modern experiments add weight to the theory. In the 1970s, researcher Paul Devereux found that many ley lines correlate with geological faults, zones where subterranean water flows or quartz deposits vibrate under pressure, generating piezoelectric charges. It's the same principle behind your wristwatch's crystal oscillator. Could ancient cultures have sensed these subtle vibrations, building their monuments as tuning forks to harmonize with the planet's pulse? From the humming chambers of Newgrange, where solstice light ignites the passage like a cosmic switch, to Angkor Wat's moats reflecting star patterns as if drawing energy from both earth and sky, the evidence whispers of intentional placement. Perhaps these sites weren't just monuments, but battery stone conduits designed to harvest and amplify the Earth's natural resonance. Whether through dowsing rods, instinct, or a forgotten science of geomancy, the ancients seem to know something we're still relearning, that the land isn't just something we walk on. It's alive and it speaks if you know where to listen. High above the mist-shrouded peaks of the Andes, the Inca priests performed Capacocha ceremonies, selecting unblemished children as offerings to the mountains, their final resting places built into the very walls of sacred structures. These weren't acts of cruelty, but of cosmic necessity. To the ancients, the boundary between the physical and spiritual worlds was thin, and the weight of their grandest monuments demanded balance. A life given for a temple raised, a soul exchanged for a bridge's endurance. Across the globe, from the foundations of Carthage's walls to the burial pits beneath China's Great Wall, cultures embedded sacrifice into their architecture, not as mere superstition, but as a profound engineering of the unseen. The Aztecs took this concept to its zenith. At the Templo Mayor in Tenochtitlan, thousands of hearts were offered to the sun god Huitzilopochtli, not just to appease him, but to literally feed the cosmos. Their belief that the universe required constant energy to resist collapse, and human blood was the ultimate currency. Spanish chroniclers described scaffolds of skulls flanking the temple, but modern archaeology reveals something even more chilling. the pyramid's layers contain caches of sacrificial knives, jade beads, and even musical instruments, as if the entire structure functioned as a resonant chamber for spiritual transactions. Yet the darkest twist lies in the physics. At Chichen Itza's sacred cenote, divers recovered skeletons adorned with gold and jade offerings flung into the watery depths. Recent sonar scans show the sinkhole's shape creates unique acoustic properties. A shout from the rim amplifies into an eerie chorus below. Were these sacrifices not just gifts to the gods, but attempts to tune the site's energy? The Maya believed cenotes were portals to Xibalba, the underworld, and their chronicles speak of voice offerings that could stabilize the boundary between worlds. Even the seemingly pragmatic Romans practiced ritual sacrifice during construction. Before laying a fortress's foundation, they'd bury a live horse beneath the gate, a tradition called the October horse. Plutarch claimed this wasn't mere tradition, but a way to anchor the structure to the earth spirit. Similar practices appear in Japanese Shinbashira rituals, where carpenters entomb scrolls or tools within a building's central pillar to ward off earthquakes. The common thread, a belief that structures needed more than mortar. They required a living connection to forces beyond human understanding. But perhaps the most haunting evidence comes from modern science. Researchers studying the stress points of ancient monuments like Borobudur or Teotihuacan discovered something unsettling. Sacrificial burials often align with areas of maximum structural tension. At Ireland's Tara complex, human remains were placed where groundwater flows create subtle vibrations, suggesting these acts weren't random, but eerily precise. Were the ancients, in their own way, conducting a macabre form of geomancy, using life force to neutralize seismic or energetic imbalances? The truth may lie in a blend of symbolism and lost science. The Vedas describe Purusha, sacrifices, symbolic dismemberments representing cosmic order imposed on chaos. Similarly, Egyptian foundation rituals involved burying miniature tools and inscribed bricks to animate a building's spirit. These acts weren't about death, but transformation, a belief that energy could be redirected, not destroyed. When a Moai statue was raised on Easter Island, the islanders placed coral eyes in its sockets, awakening its mana. In China, builders mixed sacrificial blood into mortar to strengthen city walls, a practice echoed in European legends of walled-up virgins ensuring a bridge's stability. From the ghost walls of Peru to the blood-stained altars of Mesopotamia, these rituals challenge our modern divide between the sacred and the structural. They suggest a time when architecture wasn't just about defying gravity, but negotiating with it, when every stone laid carried not just weight, but a covenant between earth and sky. The bones beneath these monuments whisper a question we're still unraveling. Did they build to reach the gods or to keep something far older at bay? Hidden within the weathered stones of ancient monuments, a tantalizing possibility lingers that these structures were never meant to be static relics, but dynamic messengers, whispering across time to civilizations yet unborn. Consider the Dendera zodiac in Egypt, a celestial map carved into temple ceilings depicting constellations with such precision that modern astronomers can pinpoint its celestial snapshot to 50 BC. Yet nestled among familiar stars lies an anomaly, a configuration matching no known astronomical event. Was this a mistake or a deliberate marker left for those who'd recognize its discordance? The Maya took this concept further, encoding warnings in their long count calendar. At Palink's Temple of Inscriptions, a sarcophagus lid bears not just a ruler's likeness, but a complex diagram of the sun's path intersecting the Milky Way, a rare galactic alignment recurring every 26,000 years. The accompanying glyphs speak of the end of cycles and the rebirth of time, but also contain mathematical corrections so precise they adjust the calendar's drift by one day every 6,000 years. This wasn't just a timekeeping device, it was a synchronizer calibrated to outlast its creators and realign with cosmic rhythms millennia later. Even more cryptic are the numerical puzzles etched into architecture. The Great Pyramid's dimensions encode the Earth's circumference with an error margin under 1%, a calculation impossible without knowing the planet was round. Meanwhile, Angkor Wat's central tower's height multiplied by its base perimeter equals the length of Earth's precessional cycle divided by 1,000. These aren't random numerological quirks, they're deliberate equations baked into stone like a mathematician's time capsule. The Byzantine architect Anthemius of Tralles even boasted of hiding the secrets of Archimedes in Hagia Sophia's dimensions, knowing future scholars might decipher them. The most compelling evidence, though, comes from the builders themselves. The Egyptian famine stele on Sehel Island details advanced geological knowledge how to locate underground water by reading rock strata, information vital to any drought-stricken future civilization. Similarly, the Voynich manuscript's unbreakable cipher, filled with botanical illustrations of unknown plants, resembles the herbal codes medieval monks allegedly buried in cathedral foundations, preserving medicinal knowledge against catastrophe. Even Göbekli Tepe's animal pillars, showing species extinct for millennia, might be less artistic whimsy and more ecological archives, stone flash drives storing biodiversity data. Perhaps the grandest cipher of all is the Global Alignment Network. From the Great Pyramid to Easter Island's Moe, over 200 sacred sites form a precise grid when mapped onto an icosahedral projection, a geometric pattern mirroring Earth's own energy grids. French researcher Jean Richer found Greek temples aligned to form constellations' earthly mirrors, while the Nazca Line's sprawling glyphs only resolve into coherent shapes when viewed from specific celestial vantage points. These weren't just local landmarks, they were pins in a planetary message board, readable only to those who'd mastered the language of stars and stones. The ancients left us more than ruins. They left a challenge, etched in alignments and equations, in carvings that outlast languages and geometries that defy coincidence. Whether these were warnings, textbooks, or simply the echoes of minds thinking on timescales we've forgotten how to conceive, one truth emerges: they built not just for their age, but for ours. And the real question isn't whether they left messages, it's whether we've learned enough to read them. The master builders of antiquity didn't simply fade away, they vanished as if swallowed by the earth itself. One generation raised monuments that defied time, and the next struggled to patch crumbling walls. What catastrophic rupture could sever such a profound lineage of knowledge? The answers may lie in the scars left by war, nature, and the deliberate erasure of wisdom. Consider the Library of Alexandria, that legendary repository of ancient engineering treatises reduced to ashes. When Julius Caesar's forces set fire to the harbor in 48 BC, flames consumed not just scrolls but entire schools of thought, mathematical formulas, hydraulic schematics, and celestial blueprints painstakingly compiled over centuries. Similar fates befell the Maya's codices, burned by Spanish missionaries as works of the devil, and the vast archives of Baghdad's House of Wisdom, drowned in the Tigris by Mongol invaders. These weren't just acts of conquest, they were intellectual decapitations, severing the thread between master and apprentice. Without living carriers, techniques like the Inca's anti-seismic masonry or the acoustical precision of Maltese temples became indecipherable puzzles. Yet warfare alone doesn't explain the global pattern. Climate shifts wielded a subtler knife. The collapse of the Bronze Age around 1200 BC saw megadroughts strangle trade routes from Egypt to Mesopotamia. As famine hollowed out cities, guilds of builders disbanded to scavenge for food. The Khmer Empire's hydraulic cities, reliant on precise monsoon cycles, were abandoned when rains failed, their reservoirs silted over like forgotten textbooks. Even Göbekli Tepe, the world's oldest temple complex, was deliberately buried perhaps to preserve its secrets against encroaching deserts. When survival dominates, the luxury of passing on architectural secrets becomes collateral damage. Then there's the quiet violence of suppression. Medieval Europe's rise saw the Catholic Church brand geometry as heresy, forcing Masonic guilds underground. The Freemasons' coded symbology inherited from Egypt and Jerusalem's builders became a secret language, its deeper meanings reserved for initiates. In China, Qin Shi Huang ordered the burning of all texts unrelated to agriculture or divination, erasing centuries of structural innovation. Knowledge wasn't lost, it was forbidden, its keepers persecuted as threats to centralized power. But perhaps the most insidious factor was specialization's slow death. Where once a single architect understood astronomy, acoustics, and stone harmonics, industrialization fractured these disciplines. Gothic cathedral builders worked in teams where no individual held the full design, relying instead on fragmented templates. The Parthenon's curvature, meant to correct optical illusions at a distance, became a quirk rather than intentional genius. Techniques once taught through decades of mentorship were reduced to rote formulas, their underlying principles fading like ink in sunlight. The final blow came with materialism's rise. Ancient builders saw stone as alive, its veins and resonances part of a cosmic dialogue. Modern engineering treats it as inert matter to dominate. When Peru's Spanish conquerors demolished Sacsayhuaman's walls to build churches, they didn't just repurpose stone, they rejected the worldview that made such construction possible. The master builders didn't vanish because their methods failed. They vanished because the world stopped speaking their language, yet fragments endure. In remote Balinese villages, masons still mix volcanic ash with lime to create self-healing mortar, a recipe from Java's Majapahit Empire. Tibetan monks chant precise frequencies to test a pillar's integrity, echoing lost acoustical sciences. These living threads, though frayed, hint at a truth. The ancients didn't just build for their era, they built for a future that might one day need to remember. Deep in the jungles of Bolivia, a team of archaeologists armed with laser technology made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. LiDAR scans revealed a sprawling network of interconnected settlements beneath the Amazon canopy, raised causeways, geometric earthworks, and even pyramid-like structures dating back over 1,000 years. This wasn't just a village, it was a lost urban civilization, thriving where textbooks claimed only scattered tribes existed. The scale of this find forces us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about the Amazon's past, and raises a haunting question. How many more cities lie hidden beneath the world's densest forests, waiting to rewrite history? Meanwhile, in Bosnia, the controversial Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun continues to divide experts. Though mainstream archaeology dismisses it as a natural formation, independent researchers point to oddly precise angles, artificial concrete layers, and an underground labyrinth of tunnels with strange energy readings. What's undeniable is the site's alignment. Its north face points toward stellar north with an accuracy rivaling the Great Pyramid, while its sides align with the cardinal directions. Even more intriguing are the ceramic artifacts found deep within its tunnels, some emitting faint electromagnetic frequencies when exposed to sunlight. Could this be evidence of forgotten energy technology, or merely geological quirks magnified by wishful thinking? The debate rages on, but one thing's certain: the hills of Visoko hold secrets we're only beginning to uncover. On the other side of the globe, beneath Turkey's Mount Ida, researchers made another head-scratching discovery, a subterranean complex dubbed the Derinkuyu of the North. While not as vast as its Cappadocian cousin, this maze of tunnels features something unprecedented. Walls lined with a metallic alloy unknown to modern metallurgy, its composition resisting corrosion after millennia. Local legends speak of the Idaean dactyls, mythical metalworkers who crafted indestructible weapons for the gods. Could this be the physical evidence of their rumored prowess? The alloy's properties, lightweight yet harder than tempered steel, mirror descriptions from ancient texts of orichalcum, the legendary metal of Atlantis. Then there's the Enigma of the Antikythera mechanism's cousins, long considered a one-of-a-kind artifact. This 2,000-year-old Greek computer for tracking celestial movements now appears to have predecessors. Fragments of similar geared devices have surfaced in a shipwreck off Crete and a Roman-era dig in Tunisia. Even more astonishing, Babylonian cuneiform tablets describe moving stars in a bronze house, suggesting such technology might trace back to Mesopotamia. The implications are staggering, a lineage of precision machinery spanning centuries, lost to time until the sea chose to surrender its secrets. Perhaps the most paradigm-shifting discovery comes from the plains of Kazakhstan, where satellite imagery revealed gargantuan earthworks' geometric shapes stretching over 300 meters, visible only from the air. Dated to 8,000 years old, these steppe geoglyphs predate Peru's Nazca lines by millennia. Their purpose remains unclear, but their precision, straight lines maintaining perfect orientation across miles hints at surveying knowledge that shouldn't exist in the Neolithic era. Local oral traditions speak of sky teachers who marked the land as a mirror for the stars, a phrase eerily reminiscent of how the Dogon described Sirius' influence on their architecture. From the jungles to the deserts, each discovery peels back another layer of humanity's forgotten resume. These aren't just anomalies, they're breadcrumbs left by a past far more technologically adventurous than our histories admit. As ground-penetrating radar unveils buried megaliths in Indonesia and sonar maps suggest artificial structures beneath Japan's Okinawan waters, one truth becomes inescapable. We've barely scratched the surface of what the ancients achieved. Their legacy isn't confined to museums. It's buried in plain sight, waiting for the right tools, the right minds, and perhaps the right moment to reveal itself fully. Imagine a world where ideas traveled faster than empires could expand, where the secrets of pyramid construction, celestial navigation, and sacred geometry flowed freely across continents, carried not by armies, but by anonymous wanderers, seafarers, and sages. The more we examine the architectural echoes between distant civilizations, the harder it becomes to dismiss the possibility of a prehistoric web of knowledge, a silent network stitching together humanity's first golden age. Take the sudden appearance of pyramid building not just in Egypt and Mesoamerica, but in places like Indonesia's Gunung Padang, where carbon dating suggests structures may date back over 20,000 years. Or consider the uncanny similarities between the Indus Valley's gridded cities and the precise urban planning of Peru's Caral Soup, separated by oceans and millennia, yet mirroring each other like reflections in a still pond. The clues aren't just in the stones, but in the stars. The same constellations Orion, the Pleiades, Draco appear in the mythologies of cultures with no known contact. The Dogon's knowledge of Sirius B finds eerie parallels in the celestial charts of the Maya, while the Aboriginal songlines of Australia trace star maps across the landscape with the same precision as the Nazca lines. Even more telling are the shared measurement systems. The megalithic yard of Stonehenge matches the standard unit used in Karnak's alignments, while the Egyptian cubit's proportions reappear in the dimensions of Angkor Wat's central shrine. These aren't random coincidences, they're fingerprints left by a shared intellectual heritage. But how could such knowledge traverse continents without leaving a paper trail? The answer might lie in the overlooked role of the shadow academics, the nomadic guilds of masons, astronomers, and metallurgists who moved between cultures like living libraries. The Phoenicians, often reduced to mere traders in history books, were likely far more. Their ships carried not just tin and purple dye, but the secrets of alloy making and celestial navigation. The Vedic Agnihotri priests who wandered from Persia to Indonesia didn't just spread fire rituals, they carried the geometric principles behind temple construction. Even the mysterious sea peoples who toppled Bronze Age empires may have been less invaders than displaced knowledge bearers, their ships laden with scrolls and star charts rather than weapons. The most compelling evidence, though, comes from the linguistic ghosts haunting our oldest traditions. The Sanskrit word for measure, mana, echoes in the Egyptian mat, the Polynesian mana, and the Mayan men, all concepts tied to cosmic order and sacred architecture. The Basque language, a linguistic isolate with no known relatives, shares uncanny root words with Quechua, the tongue of the Inca. These linguistic breadcrumbs suggest a proto-language of builders, a jargon of sacred geometry and astronomy that transcended ethnic divisions. Skeptics argue that humans naturally arrive at similar solutions when faced with universal challenges. But when you find the same 12-tiered ziggurat design in Mesopotamia, Cambodia, and Mexico, each aligned to the same solstice events, the odds of independent invention stretch credibility. The truth may lie in a forgotten epoch when climate was gentler, seas were lower, and a maritime civilization thrived along now submerged coastlines. Plato's account of Atlantis isn't the only flood myth hinting at this. The Tamil legends of Kumari Kandam describe a vast continent swallowed by the Indian Ocean, while Native American oral histories speak of a time when the Pacific was crossed by star navigators from a sunken homeland. What emerges isn't the cartoonish vision of a single super-civilization, but something far more profound, a loose confederation of cultures trading ideas as readily as goods, bound by a shared reverence for the cosmic order. They left no borders because they recognized none, building not just monuments but a silent dialogue across time, one we're only now learning to decipher. The stones were their hard drives, the stars their Wi-Fi, and the ocean currents their highways. And if we listen closely, their message is clear: knowledge was never meant to be hoarded. It was meant to bridge. As we stand amid the ruins of these borderless builders, one truth emerges: our ancestors were far more connected, ingenious, and spiritually attuned than we often assume. The stones they left behind whisper of a time when humanity's greatest achievements weren't born from competition, but from a shared dialogue with the cosmos. Think of the Great Pyramid's alignment to true north, a feat mirrored in the celestial precision of Teotihuacan's pyramids, or the way the same sacred geometry, the flower of life, the golden spiral, appears in temples from India to Ireland, as if tracing the veins of some universal blueprint. These weren't isolated marvels, they were chapters in a global story, written by hands that never met yet spoke the same silent language of sky and stone. What does this mean for us today? In a world obsessed with borders and divisions, these ancient echoes challenge us to see differently. The Inca's quipu knots, the Polynesian star compasses, the Dogon's Sirius lore, all point to a time when knowledge flowed freely, unshackled by the lines we now draw on maps. Imagine what we could rediscover if we embraced that same spirit of collaboration. Modern science is already catching up. Quantum physics hints at a universe far more interconnected than Newton ever imagined, while archaeologists uncover new evidence of transoceanic contact that rewrites our textbooks. The ancients didn't just build monuments, they built bridges between cultures, between earth and sky, even between epochs. Their legacy isn't just in the ruins, but in the questions they force us to ask. Why do we insist on viewing history as a series of isolated bubbles when the evidence screams of connection? How much wisdom have we lost by dismissing myths as mere folklore, rather than the encoded memories they might be? And if civilizations separated by oceans and millennia could achieve such synchronicity, what might humanity accomplish today if we traded rivalry for collective curiosity? The stones have spoken. Now it's our turn to listen and to build anew, not just with steel and glass, but with the same reverence for the unseen threads that bind us. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, one thing is certain: the past is far stranger and far richer than we've been taught. So let's keep exploring together. Drop your wildest theories in the comments. What's the most compelling evidence of ancient connection you've encountered? And if you're hungry for more mysteries, hit subscribe. The next chapter of humanity's hidden story is waiting.